everybody, welcome to this week's video. I hope you guys are having a very good week. In this week's video, we are going to be talking about how Power Rangers have evolved, but in particular, how leaders have evolved, not just Red Rangers. Keep that in mind. But without further ado, let's get on into it. So, we all know the first Power Rangers leader. Grace Sterling, of course. I'm just kidding, though. Of course, it's Jason Lee Scott. At least in release order. Now, Jason is interesting, in being that he, when unmorphed, like not the Red Ranger, is normally, like, just another member of the team. Like, he's pretty much no different from the others. But not that that's a bad thing. I mean, in the early 90s, that was actually kind of a good thing. Like the fact that each member kind of did blend together. But when morphed, you can really see that he takes charge. For example, in Green Candle, where he decides that he basically must almost sacrifice himself for Tommy to just keep his powers. And that's something really only a leader would do. Which, speaking of Tommy, he's next in the list of leaders, and he is also a special case, because he was only made leader when becoming White Ranger because of Austin St. John, as well as Walter Jones and Twee Trang, walked off set one day, so they had to adapt and change the script into him becoming the leader. And so Tommy would also be shifted towards kind of like the main character instead of Jason. And he would also continue his role as leader for Turbo or Zeo and half of Turbo. And he is actually special because he has spent the most time being leader, 3 seasons in total. Half of MMPR season 2, half of Turbo, and an entire season of Zeo. He didn't spend any time although wait, no, I guess it's 4. Because the halves, Zeo, and MPR season 3. So I guess it's 4. I actually wrote it down wrong. Interesting fact about our next leader, Delphine. She has spent the least amount of time being a leader, and that is being 12 episodes, at least on screen. 10 episodes in Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, and 2 in Rangers of Two Worlds. Now granted, she wasn't the leader in Rangers of Two Worlds, but she was the leader of her team. So that counts. But Delphine, she doesn't much to brag about. She's barely on screen. And even when she is, she doesn't really get focus. As the later half of MMPR Alien Rangers, I think that's how you say it, I don't know, is focused on the main Ranger's Zeo quest instead of the Alien Rangers, which I say is unfair. Come on, let's give the Alien Rangers their own season. I love those guys. Anyway, our next leader on the list is TJ because, well, Tommy was already mentioned. So, but anyway, TJ, he had a lot to live up for. He replaced Tommy Oliver, and in my opinion, he lived up to it. I mean, he was great, and it was a shame that we only got to see him for half a season as a leader, as he took second command and in space. But we do get some episodes where he does take command, which is just great. Which, speaking of in space, Andros is next, and he certainly changed a lot. At the start, very distant from the other Rangers, which actually was like I think director or something had told Chris, the actor of Andros, to not interact with the Turbo Rangers, just stay distant. But they, didn't. Well, he did at the beginning, but then he kind of changed his mind and was like, oh, well, you can do that, I guess. And at the end it shows like he becomes part of the team. He's found family with them. Now, since we don't have time for all of the leaders, we are going to skip a few and skip to first ever Pink Ranger leader, Jen. She is a great leader. She takes charge when the other Rangers, minus Wes, are sent back in time. And she has a great B-plot storyline with her and Wes's love story. She is a fantastic team player, though not at the beginning towards Wes. She's mainly a fantastic team player towards, the three other people she came back in time with. But besides that, she really does grow. She really is a great leader, but she does grow to quite literally love Wes. But anyway, the next great leader, in my opinion, is Connor. He is the reason I'm mentioning Connor is because he, at first, didn't even want to be a Power Ranger, and then he becomes, in my opinion, one of the greatest leaders in history. And I think a credit to that goes to Tommy, who helped him out a little bit. In fact, it reminds me, at the time of recording this, I'm watching Jungle Fury again, and it reminds me of Casey and RJ's relationship, minus, of course, RJ being the previous Ranger, which, speaking of Casey, he's next. He's the Power Rangers definition of an underdog. He starts as a literal towel boy, and he ends up being one of the chosen 3 to defeat Daishi, which is kind of the big bad, or he is the big bad. And Casey would frequently ask RJ, "Hey, what's some advice, or train me some more?" And sometimes RJ wouldn't do it, or sometimes RJ would not provide the right amount of stuff he wants to, or the correct stuff he wants to. But eventually he does get his master stripes. Differently from the others, though, he had to defy the commands given to him by his leadership in order to get his master stripes, aka making his own way. The next leader on this list is Troy from Megaforce and Super Megaforce. Though these 2 seasons aren't usually referred to as great seasons, and Troy isn't usually referred to as a great character, I beg to differ. He spends a lot of his time trying to grow his relationship with the other Rangers, him being the odd one out, as he didn't have a relationship with anybody. You had Noah and Jake being best friends. You had Jake and Gia kind of knowing each other a little bit, and then you had Gia and Emma, which those 4 kind of had a connection, kind of. But then you had Troy, he's the new kid. But I think that's what makes him a great leader. He takes the time to learn his teammates. Something I'll never understand, though, is his close relationship with Robot Knight. In fact, a joke among fans is that he saw a lot of himself in Robot Knight. The fact that both of them act like robots. But anyway, we gotta skip a few here. The next leader is Devon. Now, before I go on to Devon, I'd like to say why I didn't choose Tyler or Brody. Tyler, because I feel like his time isn't very well spent being a leader. He's a good character, but I don't think you can't really tell he's a leader. And especially at the beginning, you can't really tell he's a leader because he's expected to listen to Chase. But then, it's kind of he grows and then he becomes a leader. But then it's also his dad's storyline kind of takes up a lot of the time. And then Brody is Brody. Yeah, not much to say about him. But anyway, back to Devon. Not only did he have no training previously, he also replaced Blaze as the Red Ranger. And you can see him put in the effort to train, as a lot of episodes would end with him going off to the battle simulator, which he didn't mind. Another thing to mention about Beast Morphers, it's been removed off Netflix. I'm hoping that the official Power Rangers channel will post their episodes like they did for the other ones. Please, if you're watching this somehow, please do that. But anyway, another fact to consider is that he didn't even want to be a great leader, or not a great leader. He didn't want to even be a leader. He was voted into the position of being leader by Zoe and Robbie. And it also is shown that he had to learn how to be a leader. Like, first he lacks the qualities of being a leader, then he's kind of too much of a leader. He like orders strictly around Zoe and Ravi, despite the fact that he should listen to Ravi because he had previous training from Grid Battle Force. The next good leader, I think, is Amilia. Not that Zato is a bad leader. I mean, for half of season 1, he did hide the fact that he was the reason, pretty much, that they're Power Rangers, because he set the Sporks piece free. But after that, he's a pretty good one. But in my opinion, that first fact that he's the entire reason the Sporks exist kind of weighs it down. But back to Amilia. She is the first full-time female Red Ranger leader. You have to specify it a lot because there was a squad leader who's a Red Ranger and a girl, but she was evil. Then you had Lauren, who was a Red Ranger, female, but wasn't full-time, so it's like you have to specify it a lot in order for it to be cool. But anyway, she took heavy responsibility in the first part of Cosmic Fury, comforts Ion after losing Zato again, and she works closely with Billy and Solon to find a new way to morph. She also works with Izzy, Fern, and Solon to pilot their ship, which is just great. She's also great in the fact that she's willing to step down when Zato came back, but he admitted she took charge, she should stay leader. And that is the end of this video. It's shown how Power Rangers has evolved as in its leaders, starting from Red Rangers to Pink Rangers. Power Rangers has had all different types of leaders, but they all have one thing in common. They know how to lead. I would never say that one of the Red Rangers doesn't know how to lead. I think they all do, but some of them are just better than others. So that is going to do it for this week. I do hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. If any of you did make it to the end of this, follow me on Instagram, as I've been posting a little bit recently there, and I also have a Discord server, so make sure you check that out. Sorry if my voice got a little raspy at the end of this. I don't know why, but I just kind of noticed it did, and I was like, oh well. But yeah, I do hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you next week. Bye.